Welcome to Keeping It Real, where we talk business, money, and mindset.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Keeping It Real podcast. I'm your host, Parikshit, and today, as always, I got a very special guest with me. Got my homie Kieran. I've known of him for 3 years now, and we actually I want to talk about that, or we can actually talk about it right now, bro. I remember 3 years ago you had the La Jolla Mastermind. I think that's when I first came across the entrepreneurs in online community. I remember what? A bunch of young kids my age, they're all in Cali chilling. And I what's crazy is I feel like that event was the start to a lot of people's personal brand, a lot of people, actually taking business seriously. I guess we can touch on it a little bit, but even before we even start that, bro, for the people that do not know you, go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
Yeah, dude. So I'm a 20-year-old entrepreneur. I've owned a digital marketing agency for the last 3.5 years. And that's really it. Honestly, I'm just out here hustling like everyone else. Right. Yeah, man, I've got a couple other things going on in the background that I've been working on, I think like most of us do. And I've just been at it trying to, make money online and running my own business for the last few years. And it's been a really fun experience, really fun journey. So.
Awesome, bro. And touch on how you got started into this whole marketing world. And I know you have a specific niche as well. I guess we can talk about that as well, but just talk about how you got started into doing marketing and starting this business.
Yeah, man. So it's an interesting story. I've told it so many times because it's really a story of just, doing it and not having excuses, just going out and figuring it out. Right. So I guess my story kind of starts back in my sophomore year of high school. Cause you take in at least in the US, you take your exams your junior year, right? And then those exams kind of determine what happens with college and everything else. And so my sophomore year, my parents were trying to get me to start preparing for doing exam preparation and stuff like that. And that's when life kind of got real, towards the end of my sophomore year of high school. I was like, damn, I'm about to be studying for this test. And then I take this test, and then the test decides if I get into a good college or not. And then the college decides if I get a good job. And so it's just down the rabbit hole. And I was like, hold up a second. I don't know if I want to go to college. And I remember telling my dad that I played competitive hockey all growing up. And I was in a car ride on my way to hockey practice. I didn't have my driver's license yet. So my dad was driving me, and I was like, Dad, I don't know if I want to go to college. And he was like, all right, well, you got two options. And I was like, okay. He's like, join the military or make your own money and figure it out. He's like, but once you turn 18, if you're not going to college, then we're not going to, we're not going to support you pretty much. Right. And I'm like, dude, that's 100% fair. I'll do the same. If I have kids one day, same shit, right? Figure it out, or go to college, or join the military. Those are really your options when you kind of get to that age. So I was like, damn, all right, well, I don't really want to go to the military. So let me try to figure this out. Let me try to kind of figure out my own lane, my own path. Didn't know anything about marketing, didn't know anything about social media really. And I remember one time I passed by a gas station in my hometown, and I saw a gray Ferrari, a convertible gray Ferrari F430. And I pointed out to my dad, and I was like, yeah, look at that car. And my dad goes, oh, that's Matt Curry, right? And I'm like, who's that? He's like, oh, he owns a bunch of auto repair shops here. He had 20 something locations, I think. And, he's super successful entrepreneur. My dad knew of him because he was a big donor to our local schools and everything. And I was like, well, damn, let me try to get in contact with him. So I reached out to him through his website or something. And I remember I had some stupid business idea at the time. I pitched him on it via email, and he was like, Kieran, that business idea is pretty terrible, but I respect the hustle. Why don't you read my book? And so his book is called The ADD Entrepreneur. And it's about his struggle with attention deficit disorder and how he became an entrepreneur and started his massive company. And I read that book in a day, and I emailed him the next day, and I was like, hey, finish the book. How can I learn more from you? And he was like, come to my lake house this weekend, be there at 9 a.m. And so this is kind of where my whole story starts. I drive to his lake house, and a little funny side story. I'm on the dirt road leading up to his lake house, and there's a police officer in front of me. So the police officer is going the speed limit. So I'm going 5-10 miles an hour under the speed limit. And I had just gotten my driver's license too. So this is like one of the first times I'm driving it in a car by myself. And I'm like behind this police officer. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna be late. So I roll up to his house at like 8:58. And he comes outside. He's like, Kieran, you're late. I'm like, oh, I'm here before 9. He's like, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. Wow. And I remember, like, to this day, that's one of the things that I really took away from his mentorship and learning from him, was to be on time, to be early to everything, be 10 minutes early. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And so in that meeting, I sat down, and long story short, I ended up running all the social media for him and his personal brand and his book. And, he's friends with people like Richard Branson and all those like crazy successful people. And eventually that led to me taking over the marketing for his auto repair shop business. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me into marketing. That's what got me into just entrepreneurship in general. That's what got me into the automotive industry, which is still my niche to this day. And that's kind of like my origin story. So right around that time, I was 16, about to turn 17. And that's also this Jeffrey, who is the YouTuber JR Garage. Mm-hmm. That's right when he was blowing up on YouTube. So all of a sudden, like, my best friend is one of the biggest automotive YouTubers in the world. And then my mentor is like a massive automotive, successful entrepreneur in the automotive industry. And so that's kind of where my story started.
That's awesome, bro. There's so much we can talk on. I think we'll just slowly touch on it as we're, having this conversation. But the main thing I guess we should talk about is just you sticking to one niche, just cars, and the importance of that. Because I believe a lot of people, a lot of young entrepreneurs, and I believe you can agree, is a big mistake that they make is having a shiny object syndrome or bouncing around too much. Or like, oh, I do marketing for who? Everybody, right? Like they do marketing for everybody. Yeah. So talk about just like the benefits of just sticking to one niche and why you do just stick to, cars.
Yeah, 100%. And let me say, honestly, like I had shiny object syndrome a lot. I still do.
Oh,
right?
still.
Like I'm starting a software company right now that has nothing to do with automotive, but I'll tell you why I'm doing that. Okay. So back in the day, like, dude, I got into crypto. I tried stock trading. I tried e-commerce. I tried drop shipping. I tried all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when those failures happened, it just brought me back to what had worked. Right. And so I think that's the lesson there is like, shiny object syndrome is going to happen to you probably no matter what. You're always going to think there's a better way to make more money. You're always going to think there's a better way to get ahead. Right. And at the end of the day, you might find success in it, but you probably won't. Right. What you focus the majority of your time and energy on is what's going to take you down the path that you want to go. And here's the thing, you can afford to have shiny object syndrome in the future when you have resources like money and resources like time, because your main business, you have employees and managers and things like that to be able to, remove your time from the business. So that's when you can afford to have shiny object syndrome like a little bit more.
Even
so, like,
then, I don't think that is shiny object. I think at that point, it's a smart businessman and just moving on to strategy.
So young entrepreneurs bounce around too much, right? That's it. Like, focus on one thing. And here's the thing too, like, don't be scared of failure, like at all, especially if you're young, because you like, dude, I don't care if I lost everything tomorrow. Like, I literally wouldn't give a fuck.
Love that mindset, bro.
I know that I have skills and I know that I have relationships and connections and all those things because I've been building them the last 3 years. The money and the business and like that stuff doesn't matter nearly as much as the skills and the relationships that I've acquired over the last 3 years building those things. They're just a byproduct.
Right. Man, that is so cool that you say that, because I try to tell people the same thing, is focus on building skills, meeting people and learning how to run a business rather than chasing money. Because when you chase money, it's like you said, shiny object syndrome comes from chasing money, right? Because we don't do all those businesses just because we want to. It's more times like it's a money thing. And I love that you and I love that you touched on fear, and I believe that is one of the biggest thing that hurts not only young entrepreneurs but everybody, right? I bet you can agree on that. Just everybody's so scared of everything.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess the next point I wanted to talk about is just mindset. I know you came in saying you've been thinking a lot. You're ready to drop some heat, talk about some mindset, about some life stuff. How important you think mindset is, especially when you're running a business?
Dude, it's everything. Like, a lot of these people too, they see guys like us, right? Like younger guys and guys like, our friend Hayden and like, he's got all this big house, Lambo, all this crazy stuff, right? they see this stuff and they think that when they get there, like they have destination anxiety. They're like, oh, I need to get there. I need to get to the next thing. And what you realize when you accumulate a little bit of success, a little bit of financial success, a little bit of, of self-confidence, you realize like, oh, wait a second, like satisfaction never comes. Like you have to love the process, right? Gary Vee talks about this all the time, and it's true. You have to love the process. And that's a big thing that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs neglect. It's the mindset of being in love with the process, being in love with where you're at in your journey. Like, I don't want to be anywhere else. Like, I could be 10 times wealthier. I could be 10 times more successful. If I did different things, if I bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, damn, dude, I'd be so successful right now financially. Right. So it's like the mindset of being happy with what you're doing and what you're working on. Never be satisfied, but be grateful and be happy about it. Right. And I think the mindset thing, like the other thing too, is that, doubt and failure, they always creep up on you. You'll find yourselves waking up one day and just feeling like, fuck, I suck at this shit. I suck at everything. Maybe it's an external factor, like you lose a client or, you lose a bunch of money or a business deal goes bad or whatever it is. And you're like, damn, I suck. Right. And so the negative self-talk is a big thing that I've had to overcome. Mm-hmm. And I still haven't really overcome it. It's a process. Right. And I think, just to go back to your question, like mindset is literally the most important thing, because when you're an entrepreneur, like it's lonely. Like we have homies, we have friends. Right. But at the end of the day, like you're responsible for you and that's it. Facts. Right. And then eventually when you become more successful and your business gets bigger, you're responsible for other people and their families and their mortgages and things like that. And so it's a lot of pressure. Right. And so if you allow your mind to get in the way of what you're doing, then that's the quickest way to fail. Right. For you, how did you develop that mindset, from the 16-year-old who, had this mentor to the 20-year-old business owner now, like certain things that you went through, certain life lessons, certain mentors that you had, but how did you slowly develop that mindset? Yeah. And I mean, I still am to this day. I think the biggest thing is just to constantly be learning. Mm-hmm. Like I try to consume content from the right places and learn about things, learn about psychology, learn about, different things about the mind and the human brain. Like those things fascinate me. And I want to know why I'm feeling a certain way. I want to know why certain things, change my perspective or my mindset on something, because I want to be able to control that as much as I can. So I think I don't know if I have anything like directly to recommend to people, but just be curious. Like curiosity is so important in entrepreneurship because, like for me, since I was a little kid, I've always wondered how shit works. Like I've always wondered, I remember one time I was sitting in a restaurant and I legitimately had this thought, and I talk about it sometimes. I watched somebody walk into the restaurant when I was like 11 or 12 years old. I watched somebody walk into the restaurant with their family. And I thought to myself, I was like, like what made them walk into this restaurant? Like there's so many other restaurants. Why did they come to this one? Like, was it the sign? Was it are they doing like a promotion or something? Like why did that family choose this restaurant right now? And so I've always kind of operated like that, and not everybody does. And I think that thinking like that and always questioning everything and being curious about how things work and how things are done and processes and systems, I think that is one of the keys to excelling quickly. And also on the mindset side of things, when you're feeling down or depressed or unmotivated, go find out why. Like audit yourself, right? Same thing in business. If figure out why and then change it and fix it. And so I think that's trying to always figure things out. Right. So that's just the mindset you've been in. And I love that this is awesome that you've been doing from a young age. I actually started doing this year where, for me, it was advice from Kobe. He said, be curious. And I think to your point, when you are curious, you become more open-minded because you are so open to new ideas. You're open to learning, right? And
you can't grow without learning. And I think, you can agree to this. A lot of people, when they first start, they're always learning. They're always asking questions. Then they get a little bit of initial success. They get the one client, they get the one sale. And then, they get certain amount of success and they just stop all that. They stop questioning, why this worked. They stop questioning, they stop learning in general. And I think that's why it hurts a lot of people. So it's amazing hearing from you that you're on the same mindset. And anyone listening, I want you guys to be on the same mindset as well, because when you're curious, like, you start learning more and you become more open-minded.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Right. Let's talk about networking, and we can even touch on the earlier point about the La Jolla Master.
Yeah.
Right? Like, as a young entrepreneur, man, like, what are some, I guess, for me at least, like, when I say, when I talk about networking, the advice I give everyone is, just focus on you, be the best version, so people want to network with you, right? Do you have do you have any advice when it comes to networking for other people other than that?
Yeah, dude, provide value. Like, nobody's going to want to connect with you if you don't provide value. Like, you have to bring value in some way, shape, or form. In the beginning, you have to come with something that is valuable to that person and that most other people won't be able to offer. Right. So, like, when you're young, like, your time is valuable because you can use that time to prove yourself to people who are more successful than you. Like, I went and worked as an unpaid intern for my first mentor. Right. Mm-hmm. I did work for pretty much all my early on mentors. And that was valuable to them. Right. Because got me for free and I did stuff for them and I helped them out and I provided value to them. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, whatever you're good at, whether it's photos or videography or, making, doing artwork for somebody's business, like, whatever it is, man, like, provide value. This is, my best friend and business partner, Casey Adams, does this so well. I'm pretty sure everyone knows who he is at this point because of this. By giving these people that he's connecting with a platform to share their story, which is his podcast. Right. And so everyone needs to find a vehicle in which they can provide value to the people. Nothing's worse than those DMs that you get. And it's like, hey bro, like, how can I make money? I want to be successful
connect.
Like you,
Let's
man.
Hop on a call
Let's connect. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're never going to get anyone's time like that. You need to make sure that you're bringing something to the table. So that's what I would definitely say. And yeah, dude, like that La Jolla, event that we threw was
legendary.
Was one of the most amazing. I'm like, literally, it was a last second thing. Right. I was supposed to go there, just with a couple buddies. And I was like, damn, like, we have this huge house in this beautiful place for, 3 days. Why don't we throw an event and have a bunch of people come? And literally, I think it was like free to get in too. And we just had the most amazing time. Right. And so many people came out and so many relationships and connections and things were made at that event. Right. And like, showing up to stuff like that is the most important thing. And like, for me, that's how I got a lot of connections and credibility and things like that. And that's something else that somebody can take away from this. If you want to network, like, throw an event, right? Do a local, like, business.
You provided value, bro. You provided value to the people that were coming. So, there's that. You were able to meet all those cool people and then, network because of that. Exactly.
So, yeah, man. How did you hear about it, by the way? How did you hear about the event?
Around then is when I started drop shipping and, Dennis White.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dennis, man, that's when I got to know Dennis, and him and Hayden were in Minnesota together. They were telling me about this mastermind, and I was just starting, and I was like, damn, this is the coolest shit. Like, bunch of young kids all chilling. And I was learning from Samir and Juan then, and they were there.
Yeah.
Rose was there, who was like a top student in the Ty Lopez course. So like, I saw it there and I was like, damn, bro, that was some, and even like talking back to some people that were there, they talk about that event as like the start, like even with Hayden. Like, he's like, oh shit. Like, I remember when he had his gold M, when he rented the gold M for that.
Yeah.
Like that. Or like, I remember he told me that's when he first met Abdul, but they realized they've known each other. So it was just, that was such a cool event. And that is one of the, in my mind, man, I wish I was there, but it was looked like such a legendary event, bro. And you got to throw another one, man. You got to throw another fat one.
We should.
After COVID.
It's funny, like, I don't really know of like events at a crazy, and like, we called it like the Mansion Mastermind. So we got these, and we got these crazy houses and just threw cool networking events at them. And it's funny, like no one really did that in our space before. And then so many people like,
and then it was like a thing.
After it was like a thing. And I was like, all right. So, and I kind of lost the passion for it because everyone else was doing it. But yeah, I mean, when Corona's over, maybe we should throw a round 3 or round 2 and do it all over again.
That'll go crazy, man. That'll go crazy.
Yeah.
You know, talking about young entrepreneurs, I think a lot of things that people mistake about us is like, and then this is not our fault. It's just the society we live in, especially with Instagram. You're not going to post like, you know, your losses, you being down. You don't even want to go on Instagram then, you know? So everybody thinks we're always winning. We're always like having fun, making money. But I guess I want you to touch on some of the obstacles you go through. And I know you talked about the mindset part of the thing where it's like self-negativity, self-doubt, but other obstacles that people will not even understand or think of that us young entrepreneurs go through. Or specifically,
I mean, you know, like I said, when you're an entrepreneur at any age,
right?
Like, you know, if you have a job, like, you know, other people on your team and your company, they can take blame for stuff. Like when you're in school, like it's just a different environment. When you're on your own, like genuinely and running your own business and everything falls on you, even if you have a team, everything still falls on you.
Right.
So that's what a lot of people who maybe haven't started yet, they don't understand that, and they won't until they're in it. And like, that's a lot of pressure. When everything falls on you, then a lot of stress and anxiety and everything comes with that.
Right.
And so that's the biggest thing that people don't really understand until they're in it. And, you know, I think the best way to think about it and the best way to overcome it is just to understand that it's inevitable. Like you're going to lose, you're going to take losses, you're going to fuck shit up sometimes. Like you're going to make the wrong decision.
Right.
You know, you might piss some people off or ruin a relationship unintentionally. The best way to go about life is to avoid those things as much as you can. But if they happen, let them go, move on, and just understand that there's always more opportunity out there. There's always something coming down the road. Like, you know, I heard someone say once that opportunities are like buses. There's always another one. So don't let yourself get down when you take a loss. Don't let yourself get down when you have a bad day. You need to just understand going into it that it's inevitable. It's going to happen regardless. Like nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to have just a beautiful, amazing, successful career that goes up, ever, you know, has a,
right.
So I think that's the most important thing to understand.
Understand that you are going to go through the things. And I guess to touch on that topic, what are some advice you would give to your younger self? And I know that's a very cliche question, but I guess that's like advice for young entrepreneurs that may be starting out or entrepreneurs just starting out. You know, what are some advices that you would give that really you think if you knew early on, you would, you know, be way, you would get success faster, fast track certain things that you did?
I would say don't worry about shit so much. Like I was so worried about, you know, about things that I would do that might be risky. I was worried about, you know, what things might work or might not work. And at the end of the day, like I wish that I was more open, even though like I was very open. I was very like, you know, all about just doing things and trying things. I wish I was more like that. Cause looking back, like, just like I said earlier in this podcast, like if I lost everything back then, you know, it would have felt like the world was collapsing back then. But now that I look back, it wouldn't have been that bad. You know, if I, you know, fucked things up really badly, like I probably should have taken more risks. I probably should have, you know, gone even harder and tried to scale the business harder and taken on more expenses and more risk and whatever else. So I would say like your gut and your intuition and whatever got you to where you are now, whatever got you to whatever amount of success you have is what you need to continue doing. Like right. You need to continue to take risks in yourself and invest in your team. And when you have a crazy vision for something, just do it. Like right. The worst thing that you can possibly do is have regret. And I think regret is worse than failure and bankruptcy and all those terrible things. Like right. Regret is so, I would say to my younger self, just do it. Like whatever crazy thing you're thinking about, just do it.
Awesome, bro. I just want to point out, man, you have an amazing mindset, and I've been feeling the same way, and I think this is some of the best advice that people should really like take into account, because I think a lot of people might be in the position that we were in when we were just like scared to do stuff, scared to take, scared to go for our vision, because we're scared to lose the things we've already built, or we're scared to be a failure, or whatever people think. So I really appreciate you sharing your view, your mindset, and all this advice you're giving. It's some of the best ones I've heard so far, man. So I just want to give you props.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Appreciate
I think the next question that I want to talk about, our next topic, is the industry that you're in right now, marketing for cars. Is that I know you really like cars, right? I know that's like
yeah.
But is there an industry that you really like? Let's say money isn't an issue and you could just be making money in the industry. What industry would that be for you?
Well, I think, logical life, and the way that I've kind of always looked at it is, when you're young, as much as I did say this earlier in the podcast, which is, focus on skills and growth, like for sure. And, you don't want to just be laser focused on money. However, money is very important. Right. So my whole game plan, and I think I speak for like most of us and most of our peers and people, I've talked with guys like Hayden and Iman Gadji and like all these guys about this exact same thing. And it's, when you're young and you have a business that's doing well and you have ways to make money and stack, like do that as much as you can, because you never know if it might go away. You never know if the entire industry gets turned on its head. Right. Mm-hmm. So, nothing I'm doing, no business venture, nothing I do, none of my skills are an end all be all. Right. I don't see myself doing anything for the next 30 years that I'm currently doing. Right. I just know I truly understand this in my soul that I know how to learn, and I've learned how to learn, and I've learned how to adapt. And so what gives me confidence in my long-term success is the fact that I know that I'm going to learn what I need to. I know that I'm going to adapt to whatever I need to adapt to. And so to get back to your question, everything I'm doing right now is what I want to be doing in this moment, right? Mm-hmm. So that might change. The industry might change. My passions might change. But in the meantime, I'm building up, my cash reserves. I'm building up my reputation. I'm building up my experience and my skills and everything else. Right. And so if I want to make a pivot into a different industry, I can do that. Right. And I think that's what a lot of people need to focus on. Like, that's why shiny object syndrome is so dangerous, because you lose out on precious, valuable time in the beginning of your entrepreneur journey that you could have been making money and making things happen, but you were jumping around too much. So to answer your question, I think the industries that are gonna be prevalent and at the forefront of society in 50 years is what I would love to get into. Like the biggest thing that I'm passionate about is reforming the education system worldwide, right? I think that the education system, the way that everything operates, even, not even at the collegiate level, but, K through 12, I think it's so important that we really make a change in how that's done. And I think a lot of us, a lot of our friends and our peers, like I said earlier, are passionate about that same thing. So that's definitely one. And then, the second thing, like I said, is all that technology, right? AI, virtual reality, all these different industries that are kind of small right now that are going to be a big deal, 20, 30 years from now. So, you got to try to, predict what those things are going to be and then learn about them. Like I've tried to learn about AI recently, and I've tried to learn about autonomous vehicles and about, one of the people that Casey and I recently interviewed was the CEO of Nikola Motor Company, a company that recently went public on the NASDAQ. And talking to him got me really excited about hydrogen technology and about the future of the shipping and trucking industry. And so just things like that, keeping your eyes open, I don't think, but understanding where opportunity is going to be in the future and just paying attention to it. Like I said, you don't want to have shiny object syndrome, especially early on, but you need to be just aware. You need to be worldly, and you need to understand and be curious, like we talked about, right? So when you see something and you're like, damn, that's going to be a massive industry in 30 years. That's going to be a monopoly in 30 years. You should probably pay attention to it and spend some time out of your day, out of your week, out of your month to learn a little bit more about it.
That was an amazing answer. My favorite part of that is the early part where you said, you've learned how to learn and learn how to adapt. And I think that is the most important thing, because I feel like that's what we did, right? We saw the marketing, the social media world slowly blow up, and we learned, or we adapted to this society and built a business around it. And that answer opened my mind to a lot of things, man. So I kind of appreciate you, bro. I'm writing down.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
Right now. That was a really, really good answer, bro. Wow, that was some fire shit.
Thank you.
I think you touched on your future, and then even with the education system, I completely agree, bro. I we know so many people. We are the people that didn't go to school that understood that, self-education or education from another way is a better option than formal education. And, we are not failures, because I think the society, I think it's slowly shifting now, but I think a lot of people, sometimes they think that, oh, you drop out, you're going to be a failure. And I also don't like the trend now of just dropping out for fun or dropping out.
Yeah. And it's stupid, bro. I finished high school. I have a diploma.
Right. Exactly. You got to be smart with it.
Yeah. And I think you dropped out of high school, right?
No, I finished high school. I dropped out of university after one semester university. Yeah.
Why?
Man, it wasn't for me. I was more productive not going to class, doing my own thing, than going to class.
Cool. So my friend, so neither of us went to college. I always think, I'm like, damn, it would have been cool if I dropped out of high school, and then I could get like a dropout license plate.
Like Hayden.
But at the end of the day, man, it's like,